I was talking to a guy about China. He's actually a Belgian guy visiting the island, and it was interesting. He seemed to think that China was not a big power in the world right now because it's beholden to the multinationals that are giving it all this money. It's dependent on this money, and so China wasn't really a sleeping superpower, like I said, but was beholden. My point is those connections go the other way. That those multinationals, where do they get their money from? And which of these two is willing to endure poverty level? The multinationals, well, they go out of business if they can't build cheap things in China. China goes out of business if it, you know, like this guy said, well, what if they, embargo China or something? If anybody tried to embargo like a country or anything, these multinationals would immediately say no. Okay. And if it did happen, they would suffer. And China, yeah, wouldn't be making this money, but a lot of the Chinese people still live in rural environments where, they're just taking care of themselves directly, like agricultural communities do. There's a lot of reserve in China to survive something like that, and not that much reserve in our international financial system to absorb the costs that China could incur upon us. Now, as far as them being a superpower, well, I think it's like by American standards, or maybe even Western standards, we would be pressing our advantage. If we had the advantages that China has, we'd already be pressing it. If we were China, we'd already be telling America what to do out in the open and making our power known. I think the Chinese way is a little different about advantages, because when you do press an advantage, you sort of spend it, and you got to sort of create another advantage. Okay, now the fact that you have the advantage and you're pressing it maybe makes it easier to create another advantage. But there's sort of a sense of you're spending that advantage, whatever. If you tell people, for example, oh, we own all your debt, so you're going to do what we say. You're sort of spending that advantage, or you can wait till later. And it seems to me the Chinese way is to make that advantage grow. So when you do double it, it's kind of overwhelming. And I'll tell you what I think. I think that China is a superpower right now, or if you want to say they are a sleeping one, and they are going to be the real superpower. And unless we do something or things change drastically in the geopolitical landscape, they are going to be the next superpower, and it will be more and more obvious as the years go by. I assume that eventually, in the next few decades or so, we will know when China has really doubled the bet and pressed its advantage, when it just invades Taiwan, takes it over, and the whole world goes, hey, you shouldn't have done that. Don't do it again. Um, on the other hand, this is not Chinese alarmism. I mean, I think the Chinese culture, I don't like the current communist outlook, but the Chinese culture in general has a lot of great aspects uh, to it, and I'm not afraid, which means I do see a solution to this, which is that we have to be in the next couple centuries merging East and West, so to speak. There's a lot of other cultures to mix with and understand too, but certainly a major thing is for the Asian economic and social cultures to merge with the Western economic and social cultures, and and to evolve out of the totalitarianism in China, uh, evolve out of the hegemony of the West, where it's a do or die attitude, because we're going to die if we go up against the billion people just in China, not to mention the other billion people in Asia, and then the other billion besides that. And I forget if there's another billion, but there's several billions over there in different areas, and it's like we can't have a do or die attitude. We have to have a survivalist attitude, but that involves you know the ways of life of all these cultures. Doesn't mean we have to give in to communism, but because it's not like the whole history of China is about communism. Communism rose there. Uh, it was symptomatic of the world state, and it took there stronger, but it was still symptomatic of that, and it's a matter of timing. There is a strong urge in China for freedom and democracy that'll express itself, I think. But I'm not necessarily saying just wait for that. We have to play a little bit of hardball with the Chinese because they're going to play a little bit of hardball with us. Um, And that's one reason we can't just sit on the bravado of, oh, they're beholden to us because we're their customers. No, that's not how that works. They can do without that money a lot easier than we can do without the cheap labor. People want to think that, like the exploitation of the developing world, and they want to think that, like, we're in a plantation, we're the plantation owners and they're our workers. No. Okay, the Chinese government is the plantation owner, and we're just customers. Okay, and the whole idea that the joy that people take at these low costs, it's like, yay, we're exploiting. You know, the Chinese government is exploiting those people, and they're giving you a price that you like. But and in that sense, the exploitation transfers to you. But in reality, you have no control of those people. So you don't tell them what to do. They're not to your bidding. They're not to your whim. You are just a customer of a very cheap good, produced cheaply because the producer is a plantation-style, exploitive, poverty perpetuator. So, but anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on China. I love Chinese food. It's the best. Well, Thai food is actually the best. But Chinese food's really good. Way up there.